Hey, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha, Kodash, double honor to our apostles who are elders who rule well. Blessed salutations to you brothers out there teaching in enduring truth and sincerity. This is Rob Amar for the Nebraska camp. And I want to just go over a little, health thing that I observed. I was recently just getting into a book called Heavy Metals, just trying to increase my knowledge before, I started detoxing. I like to do things properly. So, I wanted to get my study on, not just go on, YouTube University and just bust it out. What YouTube University is they off the chain too. We don't have to go to these physicians and things like that all the time. All right. The Lord made medicines of the earth. Okay. We have to keep that in mind. We have to appreciate that. All right. And stop leaning on Esau's science. All right. And keep it straight up. These processed foods, these canola oils, these seed oils. Okay. Pastor Gabar, I believe one of the brother was referencing, I didn't see the video myself, but they was referencing the seed oils and stuff like that, which in essence, Jake shouldn't be on those seed oils, man. Straight up. Jake shouldn't know not to be on no damn canola oil, But, we all ain't in the same, place. And, it's, Jake, because I do shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, when you really get into... Slacky, I gotta shut this window, man. Flies getting up in there. You start getting into all that, man. You start realizing, like, yo, man, that stuff is not good, especially processed foods. Because once you go into processed foods, that's exactly what it is. The machine has processed it for you already. Because at the end of the day, when you really break it down, it's a concentration of things. And your body's not meant to process a concentration of something, okay? It's like a dye in aversion to a crayon. You know what I'm saying? Like, your body's not meant to process that concentration of produce or product, all right? Because, Pop-Tarts ain't made in a lab. Well, it's technically made in a lab, but it's made from resources from the earth that's made in a lab. Just like... cow meat, you know what I'm saying? Cow meat is cow meat, but then they're this is not a medical information. I'm just reading things off the internet, fair use. I'm not telling nobody to ingest. I'm not giving them, go to your licensed physician. We got to say these things because Esau has control over, information of health, all right? Even though information and health is out there, you got, books of the apothecaries, you got home remedies, you got, Dr. Sebi's, you got, information like that that's floating around. So do what you may with what you want with your life. I'm just saying, my point of view. I'm not telling nobody to do anything. I'm not a physician, right? But within that, man, I want to get into the liver, okay? The function of the liver, and especially brothers within this ministry, man. Because especially within this ministry, and from me, we travel, we visit brothers, we ain't in no closet, we ain't under no rock, and when we fellowship, man, brothers don't drink as much, man. You don't see, we used to see tables full of bottles, man, just full of wine bottles. And Jake, ain't like we drunkards. It's just Jake is fellowshipping and communing, okay? But you start seeing less and less of that, and now it's more water bottles and, H200 bottles and, you know what I'm saying? Like, Jake is growing up, and it's beautiful, man. But this is mainly for, some of you brothers that haven't, caught on, you know what I'm saying? Especially younger brothers, okay? So I wanted to go into the liver real quick, and I'm going to read this. The function, what is the purpose of the liver, all right? It says the liver is a vital organ that plays numerous crucial roles in the body. Its primary function includes breaking down of carbohydrates, proteins, fats for energy production, all right? So what if you got breakfast, lunch, dinner, That's excessive in itself. And then on top of that, you're, these foods they're empty in nutrients. So your body's going to keep calling for it. And or you're full of parasites and your body's going to keep calling for something to eat. Okay? So now and I have to get this. I was going to try to hold it on reserve. Okay? But I'm going to get it real quick. In Sirach, all right, 37, okay? Sirach 37 and 27 says, "My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it." Okay? Because everything that is lawful is not expedient. All right? There's no law to say that you're not supposed to eat a lot. All right? You're supposed to really be common sense. You're supposed to, because a diet is a real testament to your temperance. Okay? Again, a diet is a real testament to your temperance. Now, I'm not saying that a brother with a bad diet is not disciplined, because there's brothers that's, man, hella disciplined, man, no matter what they eat, because they have faith and things like that. But, that is a component to play, okay? Because sometimes we could build a can't even think of the word. We can calcify ourselves, you know what I'm saying? Make ourselves hardened with a habit. If you're coming as truth, you may study a lot. Just be studying. And it may be a habit. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad habit to have at all. It's a beautiful habit. It's the habit, right? But then you never attended to other things in other departments, okay? And then you have to pretty much turn to a newborn babe in those areas and build that habit up. And if you don't have true discipline, you're not going to be able to, okay? It says, verse 28, it says, "For all things are not profitable for all men, neither have every soul pleasure in everything." Okay? "Be not unsatiable in any dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats." All right? Now, when you go into unsatiable, remember, the liver for protein, okay, and things like that. This is not a scripture that's specifically talking about protein, but this is a scripture that can be used for it, okay? Because once you go into the word unsatiable, it means not to be satisfied, and unsatiable means to be unsatisfied, okay? That means you haven't had your fill, all right? And you have videos like mukbangs and all that, but it goes deeper. Like I said, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is excessive, all right? Jake will wake up and eat before you're supposed to, drink some lemon water, go on a walk. You know what I'm saying? Let your lymph nodes start working, because that's the thing too is, let's see here. So lymph nodes and the function of a lymph node, you know what I'm saying? It says lymph nodes filters, lymph node filter lymph node lip fluid, which carries white blood cells, and the white blood cells are the ones that heal you, that brings healing to your body. Debris, pathogens that may remove harmful substances to ensure clean lymph nodes return to the bloodstream. Okay, and the thing about lymph nodes is that lymph nodes is very important because there's some in your neck, and when they swell up, you can feel knots in your neck, and you could tell when your diet's bad. If you rub underneath both jawbones, that'll be your lymph nodes. And if you could feel two balls, that's showing that it's swelling up, and it's telling your body that you're struggling in some type of way with healing. Okay, and the lymph nodes function is primarily off of movement. And its network runs just like your blood vessels, but it doesn't pump through the heart. The heart pumps the blood through your body. So you can sit down and still have the blood circulating going from your heart all the way down to your feet and pulling back up, systolic and dystolic, heartbeat, you know what I'm saying? And that'll work like that, but lymph nodes don't function like that. All right. So when you're sitting down in a sedentary lifestyle, you're putting yourself in a situation to become disease-ridden, okay? So when you sit and drive in a car, that's a negative. If you work in the office, that's a negative. When you go home and you watch movies, that's a negative, all right? And, okay, you might watch a movie, but no, it's an unsatiable portion. It's excessive, all right, to where you're binge watching shows, to where there's video games, to where, oh, I'm too tired to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And you're being drained. Like Jake ain't the average Jake don't go on walks. Unless you're young. Back in the day when we had bikes and all that, man, that was perfect for lymph nodes. But now Esau has created a narrative that your child can get kidnapped, and I don't want my kid to go anywhere. I'd rather them inside, and they're not moving around, they're not jumping around, they're not having fun, and now your kid gets sick, and they say, okay, in order to stop from getting sick, they got to take this Jabberwocky, this thing, that thing, Instead, they just need to get on a bike. They need to go do some backflips. Hell, I'm meditating on getting. I got a little one, man, a boy, man. Hey, I'm meditating on getting a little baby trampoline for him. You know what I'm saying? Just so he can, jump around and move. Okay, like we do things, but I'm not. In a society nowadays, you have a little boy and he's running around playing. Sit your ass down. Stop all that. That's normal, healthy movement. But we've been in a society that we want everything uniform and forget the term, but you get what I'm saying. Everything got to be straight up and down. You know what I'm saying? Everything got to be quiet. Everything got to be organized. Everything got to be straight up. Just sit down and watch Dora the Explorer or this show or that show while I watch my show or do it, you know what I'm saying? And that's besides the point, but we're talking about health, right? And moving around. It's important to move around. Go on walks. Wake up in the morning and go take a walk. Don't eat nothing. Let your body wake up. God damn. Instead of just shoving shit into it and not giving it a chance to start functioning. All right? You don't turn your car on and just start doing donuts as soon as you turn it on. And just start pumping it out to the max. Okay? No, you got to let that car warm up and let fluid flow through that. You got to let that oil flow through that car before you just take off. You got to let it idle for a bit. Okay? So that's the same thing with our bodies. We got to let it idle for a bit. You got to get up, move your legs around, do some things. And there's certain things, once you go into your studies, you start realizing that, okay, like I said, lemon water. You know what I'm saying? The organs love lemon water. And it doesn't cost much. One lemon, squeeze it into your water, you know what I'm saying? Such on and so forth, But your lymph nodes, again, is something that requires movement, and this is your healing system, all right? That's the white blood cells, all right? It says it fights infection. Lymph nodes contain immune cells such as lymphocytes, T cells, and B cells, which detect and destroy pathogens, bacteria, viruses. They produce antibodies and activate other immune responses to combat infections. You see? So getting up and moving around, get that fluid in your lymph nodes to move around like your blood vessels do. And it travels through your body, killing anything in its way. So i.e., get up off your ass. Stop sitting down, because sitting down is the new cigarette. That's cancer causing. Because your body's going to try to fight. And that's all it's doing is when cancer or something like that, it's trying to fight. And it holds and it harbors all that disease stuff in one spot, And what they do is they go in there and poke that and release all that toxin to check and see if it's cancer or not. I ain't going to say nothing. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy. I can't say much outside of that. But let's get back to the liver, okay? The liver situation. All right, so it breaks down carbohydrates. You wake up in the morning, eating pancakes. That's hella carbs, man. You're not giving your body a break. And then you go to lunch, you're eating bread, The bread is full of, not only is it you're eating pancakes, but it got dextrose, hypercoxide in it, and this and manual whatever, all these long ass words. When all it takes is, to create any type of dough. All it is flour, or really not even flour. Once you really get into it, like I said, I'm a person, I like to get into stuff, man, and to apply it for myself, because I walk that path. I'm still eating bread, but I'm on a path, like, we do the Sabbath. I mean, not the Sabbath, but the Pesach every year, and it tells you not to have leaven. So when Jacobs really start getting into them studies, start realizing that leaven, that yeast is just activated, it's just bacteria infested grains. Because you can make flour out of chickpeas, you can make flour out of, flour in essence is just grain, it's wheat that's grinded down into a fine powder, okay? And then that powder, just put water in it, and then you let that sit and ferment and gain bacteria. And then that bacteria causes a rising agent, in which with the Pesach, we didn't use yeast because we didn't have time to let that rising activity happen. I think it could take a long time for yeast to be available, okay? And it takes a process. You gotta let the dough rise, you gotta knead it, then you gotta let it sit. And Jake ain't had time for that. You just had to put that grain, the water, and mix that together and then throw it in the oven so you can hurry up and make your bread, okay? And that's where you get flatbread from, because it's not a rising agent, all right? So wheat in itself is not yeast. All right, wheat in itself is not leaven. All right, the rising agent, which is the yeast, is the leavening. All right, so in essence, that bacteria is what causes the rise. Right. So my point is that it's very simple to make bread without having all these preservatives and additives that your liver has to process and has to clean out. And then you eat pancakes, and you might have turkey bacon, and then you got eggs, and then you got your juice, and the juice has, things in it to stop it from separating the things that preserves the orange and this, so it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. And for them to make it, they got to put bleach in it. And your body, your liver, and your kidneys have to process and cleanse all that. That's just breakfast. And then you go over to lunch and not even get to lunch, you're eating fruit snacks, you're eating this. You're not eating regular fruit, you're not eating no watermelon like that. You're not eating nature's resources. You're eating stuff that is convenient through grocery stores and things like that. You know what I'm saying? And just like old school always told me, when you go shopping, Jake should take pride in not going into them aisles. You should circle around the store. Don't go into the aisles. But sometimes you have to, because you got to get your rice, you got to get your grains, you know what I'm saying, things like that. There's certain things in the aisle, but if you just pumping up and down them aisles, that's proof that you ain't got your health ain't right. Your health ain't right. You should be going on the outside of the grocery stores. That's where your produce and your meats are, and your fresh foods and fruits, okay? And you should take pride in spending more time on the outside of the grocery store than in the aisles. All right. But like I said, it breaks down proteins, fats for energy production. Like milk in itself, man. Milk is, they put so much chemicals for it to last longer. But milk has so much fat in it. Vitamin D, vitamin 2, eggnog and all that. And it's sugar. Like one cup of eggnog is a combination. That's enough for 2 breakfasts of breaking down, of putting your liver to fucking work, man. You know what I'm saying? Just using that as an example, because it's that time of the year, we working around that type of environment to where, we know when that type of product comes, okay? And it says it regulates blood sugars by storing and releasing glucose, okay? So if your liver's just out of whack, man, how are you going to regulate that? Your body going to try to regulate, it's going to store it. Or i.e. is going to raise the high cholesterol, it's going to raise high blood sugars, i.e. diabetes, Alzheimer's, okay? Because what happens is and there's other things that happen where when your liver stops functioning, then things could sneak past and get through your system and then it gets through your blood-brain barrier, and that's how it leads to that type of stuff. This is what Esau is telling me. All right, this is his science, but it's all through the Lord. All right, because some things Esau say is true, but they'll put their lie on it or a twist. Okay, as far as detoxification, the liver filters and removes harmful substances such as toxins, drugs, and alcohol from the bloodstream, converts ammonia, a toxic byproduct of protein metabolism, into urea, all right, which is your urine, which is excreted in urine, okay? So our liver is very important to take care of, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you'll be amazed at the things that we're doing to our bodies and not allowing our livers to rest, man. And it messes with your blood, it messes with your blood. And that's something, and I'm not, hey, you could say I'm projecting because that's something I had to learn from being hard-headed and constantly just eating what I want, not sitting, not moving around, all right? No, I got to get up and move, man, all right? I got to get up and move and constantly be getting up and doing things. I can't be in a sedentary lifestyle. I can't be just sitting here eating what I want, waking up, just, I'm hungry. I got to eat something because it's breakfast time. I got to eat something because it's lunchtime. No, give yourself a fucking break, man. Let your body process, especially us on the older end, all right? And it says, in the storage, it says, stores essential nutrients such as vitamins A, D, E, and K, as well as iron and copper. So it stores iron and copper. It stores metals. So if you're eating off the linoleum pans, the aluminum foils, drinking sodas, okay? Because soda in itself is bad. Cold drink is bad, right? But the aluminum is what's going to tear your ass up. Though drinking out of water bottles with microplastics is going to tear your ass up, man. Like we're in a system to where, we shall eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles. But goddamn, a Pop-Tart ain't, that's not that. That's a choice at that point, okay? Hot Pockets and noodles and shit. That's a choice at that point, all right? Now, I get it. Sometimes Jake may be broken. You got to stretch it. You do what you do, Like me, I'll sparingly get my kids some noodles, man. Like, and I go like, cheat day type stuff. And I understand it's not good. But sometimes, Jake, we're in poverty, man. We got to make that shit work. But I'm not going to sit here and live off of that because it's cheap. I'm going to try to get fruits, stuff that grows of the earth naturally. Like I me and a brother joke about it, but we was talking, we got kids and stuff, and he said, hey, man, I got these fruit snacks, I'm going to give to your son. And I was like, nah, I don't want him eating that stuff. And he was like, well, but it's sweet potato in this. And I said, I don't know what sweet potato that you know, but I've never seen sweet potato in a plastic package that can last years. I don't recall a sweet potato doing that, so I'm not messing with it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some type of stops. Like I said, Esau put truth out there, but then he put a lot of bones in it. Oh, there's sweet potato. Sweet potato, super healthy. And you look up the benefits of sweet potato, now you're like, oh, that's all in that. No, it's not. It's processed at that point. They took all them nutrients out and they put it in some type of pills or whatever, and they're selling you that while you're being destroyed by something that you think is healthy. So, like I said, it fights infection, regulates cholesterol levels, produces hormones that affect metabolism and growth, and stores glycine, a form of carbohydrate that provides energy during fasting or exercise. Jake's struggling from fasting, and you can't. Come on, man. Come on now. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. I'm saying it's important. We have to open our eyes to this, okay? But the Lord is going to bring healing. But that don't mean crash the fuck out and do what the hell you want. Don't tempt the Lord either. Okay? Yeah, the Lord is omnipotent. Yeah, he killeth and he maketh alive. But that don't mean tempt him and put his power to the test. Okay? Do what you're supposed to do and let the Lord do the rest. What about that part? Okay? All right. So going back, like we went on unsatiable. So you go into verse 30 of Sirach 37 and 30 says, for excess of meats bringeth sickness, and fighting will turn into choler. Okay? Because again, protein, and Jake got to have meat in everything. And it's more meat than it is veggies, fruits, and veggies. Okay? It's more carbs. And to this day, I'm trying to wean off of it, man. You know, I'm from the South, bro. Like we got rice and everything, bro. That's glucose and that's carbohydrates. I'm not giving my liver a break, man. I'm not giving my kidneys a break. I'm not giving my filtration system, my cleansing system a break. You got to give your system a break. That's why fasting is important. Okay? And then when you go into fighting, all right? The word fight means what? Excess in quantity, immoderate behavior, unhealthy overindulgence, doing too fucking much. And process, okay, there's a people that eat a lot, there's people that eat processed foods. It's the same. Because processed foods take a bunch of shit and condense it into one. That's like taking 100 steaks and smashing it into one steak. You're still eating 100 steaks just because it's the size of one steak. Okay? So when you drink a Coca-Cola or a Sprite, okay, you're supposed to have glucose in your system. You're supposed to have sugars. But when you smash all that sugar into one small bottle, you done drunk a 2 days worth of sugar. You didn't inject the 2 days worth of sugar. And then you're knocking them back like bowling pins. And then you turn around and have rice with that. And then, you're having, chicken with canola oil and grease in it. And, now I'm not saying if you see me with some Popeyes, you might see me with some Popeyes every blue moon. You might. You just might. But that ain't going to be, you ain't going to see me knocking back energy drinks, Popeyes. You ain't going to never see, no. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here saying that I'm walking a straight tightrope. I'll veer off. I'll every once a month, every 2 months, I'll pass it. Like let me go over to Dave's Hot Chicken. Fuck it. Right? It says don't be fighting. Excess in quantity. Immoderate behavior, unhealthy overindulgence is what fighting is. And it leads to choler, right? So how can overeating lead to bile as one of human, this is the definition of choler, bile as one of the humors, an excess of which was supposed in old medicine, irascibility or temper, bile, anger. So how does overindulgence in food lead to anger? Let's get to that. All right. So when we go into Slakia, let me get it real quick. I went and looked up a statement, things that destroy the liver. Okay, so we're going to get into things that destroy the liver is alcohol, certain medications, high unhealthy fats, processed sugars, high sodium foods, lack of exercise, and I went into all that, right? Alcohol, processed foods, and things like that. All right, so I want to look up something. I got to word it because I could find it here. But I really wanted to dive into the statement because when you have a bad liver, it then turns into anger issues. Okay? So I'm gonna look up the term liver and emotions. All right? When you look up liver and emotions, it says it's in traditional Chinese medicine, the liver is closely associated with emotions, particularly anger, frustration, and resentment. Okay? You feel me? And at first, I'm like, man, how the hell, but then I started thinking of estrogen and testosterone. You know what I'm saying? That regulates your emotions too. So it's not like a diet can affect your emotional state. Okay? Not just feeling tired. It ain't just that. This stuff is going through your blood-brain barrier. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor to tell you exactly what's happening. But what I'm telling you is that once your liver starts shutting down, it stops your filtration system. It's just like a water filter. When a filter shuts down, the water's going to start becoming dirty. It's going to come in dirty, and it's going to come out dirty. That's just simple. And when it comes out dirty, then whatever it's going into after that, which is your blood pumps into your brain, pumps into your other organs, pumps through your whole body. So now your blood isn't clean and it's pumping that toxic waste all through your body, and it gets through your blood-brain barrier, which fucks with your mind. Okay? It clog your mind. You keep forgetting things. You can't focus. You can't concentrate. Okay? Yeah, man. It says the liver is responsible for regulating the flow of QI energy throughout the body. Anger and other strong emotions can disrupt the liver's balance, leading to stagnation of QI. When the liver is out of balance, individuals may experience emotional symptoms such as irritability, mood swings, and depression. Liver and anger. The liver is considered the organ of anger. When anger is excessive or repressed, it can damage the liver and lead to stagnation, or and vice versa. If you got a bad liver, you can't regulate your emotions. They're telling you, they're telling you how the emotions affect the liver, but your liver affects your emotions too. So if you got a bad liver, you'll be soon angry. You ain't gonna, you get frustrated, get depressed, and you're wondering why you can't snap out of it. And you're talking about Satan. The real core of Satan is your lack of discipline. That's the real core of Satan of working on you, of when you smell that chicken and you just can't resist it, or when you see that bottle of liquor, you just can't resist it because the pressures of Babylon. Grow the hell up, bro. We all in Babylon. Figure it the fuck out, man. I get it. This shit's hard. I get it. Life is hard. Take the stairs. Go the hard way, man. Do it the regular, plain way, man. Because this world is going to kill you, man. It's polluted. The ways of this world, man, is stressful, which is hard on your liver. Bad foods, and all that is going to increase your anger, increase your emotional instability, clog minds. You can't remember things. Now you got to read. You got to study. You got to be able to connect dots, and you can't do that because you're just eating dumb shit. You dig? So I just wanted to share that, man. We're going to get this last precept real quick. But I'm going to finish this out. Let me finish this out. It says, by sufficing have many perished, but he that taketh heed prolongeth his life. Yeah. Eat right, man. I'm not trying to live forever, but I got a job to do, man. All right? So let's get this real quick, and then I'm going to close out. I don't know if I read it or not, but read it again if I didn't. In Sirach 34, in 34 and 17, it says, not 34 and 17, 30 and 15, it says, health and a good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart, which is your mind. Okay, death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. Okay? And the Lord said, give me any plague but the plague of the mind. Everything ain't just a Shazam zap from the Lord. Some shit is an accumulation of bad decisions by being influenced by Satan's devices. All right? Sometimes he that contends small things shall fall little and little. So if you sitting there and you can't resist that fucking sandwich, you can't resist that coffee, with all that milk and that sugar every fucking morning because Esau told you you need energy, but your energy's low because you're not moving around, you're not taking care of your body. So now you use Esau pseudoscience by injecting high fructose energy into you. You know what I'm saying? When all you got to do is wake up, drink a cup of lemon water, go take your ass on a walk and get your organs operating, and then you'll have the energy. You'll have a lot of natural energy. But I get it. Natural energy, when I started eating clean, I felt the difference between high fructose energy and natural energy. High fructose energy, you can do a whole lot on it, bro. You can. Hey, you can do a whole lot on cocaine, but you'll die messing with it. Your heart will bust, right? You could do a whole lot on energy drinks. You can get a lot done, but you crash too. But the thing about natural energy is that you can't do as much, but you can do a lot within your human ability based off your endurance and your muscle endurance, and it becomes real. But you don't crash, but it don't last as long. I've gotten tired. When I'm tired, I'm tired. But when I was on that sugar and shit, bro, it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm up, jitters. I'm ready. Then next thing you know, I pass out midday and shit. Don't got control of my body and shit, man. You know, yeah, man. So yeah, I just wanted to share that, man. Hopefully this was edifying. With that being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim.